If we walked away, then the only hope these kids have is gone.
Have you been to school ever?
No.
It doesn't tie Nestle USA to the farms. It doesn't have exclusive supplier contracts.
Si intitola The Chocolate War ed è un nuovo film di denuncia sull'industria mondiale del cioccolato e sullo sfruttamento del lavoro minorile nelle piantagioni africane di cacao. Da poco presentato all'estero, lo ha realizzato Miki Mistrati, giornalista e regista danese di origini italiane, che già in passato ha condotto inchieste coraggiose su questo tema scandaloso con altri 2 film scomodi e di successo che hanno causato non poco clamore.
The Chocolate War is my third film about the chocolate industry worldwide, and the difference between the new one and the 2 previous one is this is a film about an American human rights lawyer who is trying to get Nestle and Cargill convicted in American court for using of illegal child labor in the production of the chocolate. And that's basically where it all starts. I start the film in 2016 and following his work up to 2021 in his investigation to get proof of child labor he wants to use in the court against Nestle and Cargill. Basically, it all started in 2007 when I went to the supermarket to buy a chocolate bar, and on the sleeves, on the shelves, I was just wondering, there were 7 chocolate bars, same brand, but different flavor. So what I did was one of the chocolate bars had a sign between the border between Mali and Ivory Coast, and how it works and how easy it is. And then the companies were like saying, oh, we do a lot for the countries, we do a lot for the farmers, and we try to fight against child labor, we build schools, we do a lot of things. And then I decided to say, okay, if you do as much as you say, I want to investigate that. That led to the next film where I was trying to investigate all the so-called projects and aid programs they were saying or claiming they were doing. Some of it was so tiny that it didn't even work, and at the end of the day it was worth nothing. So that was the second film, the Shady Chocolate, and this new film is so completely different because it's more about the legality in it, and it's told through a legal person who really tried to get this stopped. And so there is a direct link from my local supermarket to the Supreme Court in United States of America.
20 anni fa i più grandi produttori di cacao avevano siglato un accordo per porre fine allo sfruttamento dei bambini nelle piantagioni. Ecco, che cosa è successo da allora?
If you look back 20 years, they were forced to the table because of revealing that there were child labor in the production. So they were forced to sign a protocol, not a law, nothing, just that they will work for getting this problem solved. And the deadline was in 2005. Then they extended it to 2008, and then they extended again. And today, it doesn't even work anymore. The U.S. Department of Labor paid University of Chicago to make a huge report that came out in October 2020. The facts are quite significant. There are 1.5 million children working in cocoa industry in Ivory Coast and Ghana. And if you say that it was 2 million before and now it's 1.5 million, that would be ridiculous. It's a huge problem. As we speak, it is a huge problem. Even in Ghana, it's really big. I've just had a team in Ghana in January. It's all over the place. children who doesn't go to school, who are, and that's the big difference. They don't go to school. They work in the plantation. They work with sharp machetes. They work with pesticides. They work with heavy loads. Children need to go to school, not work as adults in the plantation. And that is not the problem forced by the farmers. That's forced by the whole price structure on producing a chocolate bar. Because if you look at a chocolate bar today, when you buy that in the supermarket, it's unnatural cheap. It should cost much more. At the end of the day, the farmer only get down to 6% of the price when it gets sold in a supermarket in Italy, for instance. And that's a problem. They can't afford to get labor or buying pesticides or whatever they have to buy that goes from the 6% of what is left. It's ridiculous. So I think we need to understand that the price on a chocolate bar is too cheap, and that's the reason why the farmer can't afford, because he doesn't get enough for the work he is or she is doing in the farm.
Ma esattamente chi alimenta il lavoro minorile nelle piantagioni? Le stesse comunità agricole per avere un sostegno alle povere economie familiari, o la responsabilità delle compagnie di cacao che vogliono mantenere bassi i prezzi di produzione?
In my opinion, the prices are too low. At the end of the day, that's the problem. And people will say, yeah, but the culture in the bush is that the children are helping the family. Sorry for my French, bullshit. That's not the fact. The fact is they can't afford. Any parents want their children to have an education. And education starts in school. Children need to go to school, get an education, at least a basic school skills, so they can get a job later in life. If they are kept in poverty and working as modern slaves, then it will just be continuing the same pattern we have seen for years. That's the problem. The problem is that the companies are keeping the whole industry of farmers back in poverty because they don't pay enough for it. It's quite simple. And saying that, oh, they help the family. Well, we're not talking about children who are helping, mom and dad an hour a day. We're talking about children who doesn't go to school. They have one thing to do, help in the field with harvesting cocoa, with machete, with heavy loads, with pesticides. And I am really against that. That's something we need to get changed.
Con il suo film e con il suo lavoro di denuncia ha toccato un business molto redditizio che coinvolge grandi imprese e vari governi. Ecco, ha mai ricevuto intimidazioni, minacce o problemi durante la realizzazione del suo documentario?
Not really. I think we're talking about giant companies and they are not stupid. No matter what I think, they're not stupid. They are smart. They're clever. They know that if they try to intimidate me and my work, they will be outed in social media. And imagine that, they try to do something. That would be the worst thing. I have to say today, the big companies like Nestle and Cargill in this case, they're quite professional when they communicate. They know now it doesn't make sense to say, oh, we didn't know there was a problem. Or what you say is not right. No, what they say is, we are really sorry about this problem. We do our best to make the changes, and we will do even more in the future. Quite professionally. If I was their advisor, I would have said the same. The problem is they're just pushing the problem in front of them. It's like with the climate change in the world. If you try to push it just and say, oh, in 2050 we will not have any meat or whatever, and the CO2 will not be the biggest. We need to make the changes now before it's too late. The same in the chocolate industry. If you want to end slavery for children, We need to end it now. It's not, why should we wait 10 years? Why? We've been waiting since slavery was a part of the Western culture. Stop it. It's easy. Pay a decent amount of money for the commodity instead of just pressuring and supporting slavery, because I think you are direct, actually, but even indirect, supporting slavery with children by not paying enough. And if they say, yeah, but this is what the consumer wants to pay for a chocolate bar, I would say, hey, ask the consumers. Then put a sign on your chocolate bar saying, this chocolate bar might be produced by child labor. Do you think the consumers would buy that? I don't think.
The real question is, a ben guardare, la vera domanda che dovremmo porci è: siamo disposti a pagare di più per fermare il lavoro dei bambini nelle piantagioni?
If you ask any random consumer if they want, you have two choices now. One is produced by child labor and one is not. This cost 50p and this cost €5. What would they buy? I am quite sure that 9 out of 10 would pay more for the chocolate bar. And my suggestion is, if you think it's too much, then don't eat too much chocolate. Then skip buying chocolate bars or any chocolate products too often. That's a way a student can afford, instead of just buying a shitty, very low quality chocolate bar, which is 80-90% of each supermarket or corner shop anyway. And that's the way to do it. You need to take action as a consumer. You need to ask questions. Why is it's so cheap? It might be this reason. With the tuna in a can, why is it so cheap? There is a reason. Why is everything so cheap? The way we produce our food today is not sustainable. It needs to be changed. Of reasons I've just have said, child labor. But on the other hand, if we don't do that, the climate change will make us forced to do it anyway, because our planet cannot, bear this way of producing our food today anyway. So we need to find alternatives, and one could be like, in this case with chocolate, it will cost more. I've said this many times. It's unnatural low price. Why can a chocolate bar, which has to be produced and drafted and everything, the whole way of the cultivation of cocoa, from the cocoa pod to the beans to the drying and then it needs to get sent to middlemen and to producers. One cocoa bean needs to change so many hands, and every hands need a bit of money. So the supply chain is too long in a way, unless we pay what it actually costs. At the moment, the chocolate companies profit from it, but they are in the supply chain more or less the people who profit most. Then they have the retailers and middlemen. The one who absolutely get the lowest profit at all, I wouldn't even call it profit, but revenue, is the farmer.
Ma in conclusione, possiamo essere sereni perlomeno quando acquistiamo un cioccolato certificato Fair Trade? Si tratta di prodotti sostenibili, possiamo esserne sicuri?
No, we can't. The problem right now is that what I've seen latest in Ghana and Ivory Coast, that a lot of farmers doesn't want to be fair trade because the amount they get is not enough. They need to put a lot of effort to do, documentation and monitoring stuff that they can't afford. They can't be in the field. So there is a lot of administration for doing it. So I think if Fairtrade needs to do something really good, they need to pay even more. And then the price of the end product will be higher, which I think is fine. Or what they do now, because it's really a key problem with fair trade, and you see lots of fair trade right now, they blend it with conventional cocoa with fair trade cocoa because they can't get enough of the more sustainable cocoa. But at the end of the day, you can't trust that it's fair trade because of the whole system as it works now. Not saying that I don't genuinely believe in it. In its essence, I do believe in it, but as it works now, it's not enough.